Dot Solutions. Add-on desired.
Hello viewers, welcome to our Dot Solution Daily Current Affairs. I'm Lokesh Penugonda. This session is designed for aspirants who are preparing for banking groups and such other competitive examinations. We cover news articles from both the Hindu and the Indian Express. Make use of this session. Our first article: drones and flying toys are banned in a Jammu and Kashmir after attacks. We'll first see where this district is and we'll later see why these drones have been banned in a district. If this is Jammu and Kashmir, a small part of this Jammu and Kashmir has been occupied by the Pakistani establishment. We call it as the Pak occupied Kashmir or the POK, and near this line of control, that is the line which is separating the Pakistani occupied Kashmir and the Kashmir of India, there is a district called as Rajouri district. The district's name is Rajouri, and the district administration in this area have banned the use of drones and flying toys. The reason they stated was that these drones and flying toys are being misused by various people. What we have been witnessing is that the misuse of drones and other related equipment by terrorist forces to transport arms, ammunitions and even narcotics from the Pakistani occupied Kashmir to the Indian Kashmir. And lately what we have been witnessing is usage of drones for surveillance on the Indian establishment, and last week drones were used to attack an Indian Air Force base at Jammu. So as these drones are being misused to attack Indian security forces, these drones and flying toys have been banned by the Jammu and Kashmir's Rajouri district administration. This is with respect to this article. Next we have an article which is talking about a report. The report is titled as COVID-19 and tourism an update. From the name itself you can understand that this is relating to the tourism and relating to the COVID-19. What we have been witnessing is, since the pandemic has come, many countries have to start travel bans. So they are not allowing people to leave their country and they are not allowing other people to enter their country for the fear of getting COVID-19 infections. And due to all these restrictions and due to the collapse of international tourism due to COVID-19, it is stated that $4 trillion will be lost for the global economy just for the year 2020 and for the year 2021. So for these 2 years, the global economy would lose $4 trillion as a result of collapse of international travel. And this article and the report is stating that this loss will be mainly on those sectors that are tourism related. So we have the aviation sector, we have the hospitality sector, which are highly dependent on tourists. So they will be highly negatively affected. So this report is asking the governments over the world to take care of these people who are somehow involved in the tourism sector. And this report is also asking the governments around the world to increase the vaccinations so that people, once they get vaccinated, they can move freely from one place to other place. So this is with respect to the COVID-19 and tourism report. Now we'll see who has published this report. This report is published by 2 UN organizations jointly. These are the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, and the second organization is the United Nations World Tourist Organization. So we have 2 UN bodies jointly giving this report. The first is the UNCTAD, which stands for United Nations Conference on Trade and Development. So you can understand that this is a body that is mainly to promote trade and development in the world. Next is the World Tourist Organization, which is to promote sustainable tourism in the world. So this is with respect to the article and the report. Next we have an article where the Indian government has approved a plan as to take help of private players to complete the pending work of the BharatNet project. What is this BharatNet project? In the year 2011, the government of India started a project called as National Optical Fiber Grid Project. National Optical Fiber Network or the Fiber Grid Project. This was later renamed as BharatNet. The objective of this BharatNet project is to provide telecom connectivity and internet connectivity to all the 2.5 lakh gram panchayats in the country. So in India we have 2.5 lakh gram panchayats that include 6 lakh villages. So 6 lakh villages will be coming under 2.5 lakh gram panchayats. To connect these villages with internet and telecommunication, BharatNet project was launched. Now you can understand that this is a huge project because providing connectivity to 2.5 lakh gram panchayats is a really huge work, and for that you would require a lot of money. Where is this money coming from? This money is coming from the Universal Service Obligation Fund. So what is this Universal Service Obligation Fund? In the year 2002, the Indian government started this Universal Service Obligation Fund, wherein the telecom operators working in the country will have to pay this fund 5% of their adjusted gross revenue. So this is like a tax, but this amount will be sent to this service fund, not to the government. So what is this gross revenue? We have many telecom operators such as Jio, such as Airtel, Vodafone, Idea that are working in India. They have to pay 5% of their adjusted gross revenue so that this money can be used to improve the connectivity to the rural areas. And if this connectivity to the rural areas is improved, they can access e-governance, they can access e-health, they can access e-education, and they can even access the internet. So by accessing all these, they would be able to better their lives. That is why the BharatNet project was launched in the year 2011, and later it was started in the year 2011, and now it is coming to the conclusion. Next we have an article where the Union government has asked European Union nations to consider India's vaccine for travel to Europe. What we have witnessed is that European Union countries are not allowing Indians who have taken a vaccine prepared or made in India. So we have vaccines such as the Covishield and Covaxin. These two are being locally developed, and nearly 32 crore doses have been administered to Indians in India. And these people, though, if they want to go to European Union countries, they have to undergo mandatory quarantine. Mandatory quarantine. The reason is European Unions have not yet recognized these two COVID-19 vaccines. So if they have had they recognized COVID-19 vaccines made in India, they would have allowed Indians to travel freely into the European Union, and Indians would not have to go through mandatory quarantine. But European Union did not accept the Covishield and Covaxin. So Indian government is of the view that if these European countries are not allowing Indians and are not recognizing the Covishield and Covaxin, then we will also not allow Europeans even if they take the vaccines. So this is a plan the government is planning to bring in. Next we have an article where the World Health Organization have stated that China is malaria free. This is a significant development. If we know that China is the first ever Western Pacific region country to be malaria free in the last 3 decades. So in the last 30 years, China has become the only Western Pacific country to become malaria free. Now we'll see about malaria. Malaria is an infectious disease. It is caused by parasites. And the parasites are transferred from one person to other person through Anopheles mosquitoes. So there are a type of mosquitoes called as Anopheles mosquitoes, and these mosquitoes transport these parasites from one place to other place. And you should know that malaria is causing numerous deaths in the world. In the year 2019 alone, malaria, which is a infectious disease, has led to the death of more than 4 lakh individuals. So you can understand that this is a huge problem the world is facing, and China, through its huge efforts, has finally become malaria free. So this is a great achievement of China in the recent years. And you should also note that there are 2-3 other countries in the Asian continent and in the Australian continent to have achieved this malaria free status. So what are these countries? We have the country Singapore, we have the country Brunei, and we have the country Australia that are already free from malaria. So only these 3 and now China are free from malaria in the Asian and Australian continents. Next we have an article where it is stated that the Q4 current account deficit has touched $8.1 billion. So we'll just see about the current account. The current account. Current account refers to majorly 3 areas. So it is combination of 3 areas. First is the trade in goods and services. Next is remittances. And later we have investment income. Investment income. So I'll just tell you with an example. Let's say India is exporting 100 rupees worth goods to some country, and Indians who are living in many countries in the world have sent India, that is, have sent some money to their family members. This may be 100 rupees. So we are getting 200 rupees totally just by exporting some goods and receiving money from Indians who are living abroad. Whereas if you assume that India also imports some goods, let's assume that India has imported 50 rupees worth goods, and at the same time some foreigners might be working in India, they might earn some money and they might send this money back to their homes, that is to their foreign countries. And if you assume that it is 20 rupees, that is, this is the money they are sending to their family who are living abroad. So we are getting 200 rupees and we are losing 70 rupees. Then that means the current account is 130 rupees. That is, we are in a positive of 130 rupees. But what we have been witnessing is current account being in negatives, because we import a lot of material. We import petroleum related products and we import gold and other related products in huge quantities, and as a result we have to pay a high amount of money to these countries which are exporting their goods to India. As a result, India is most of the time current account deficit. That is, we are paying other countries more than what we are receiving. So this is with respect to the current account, which we are currently in deficit of 8 billion just for 1 quarter of 2021. Next we have an article where the Supreme Court has asked the National Disaster Management Authority to finally fix a price so as to provide compensation to those families who have lost some of their family members. So we'll see this with the background. In the year 2005, the Parliament of India has made an act called as Disaster Management Act. And this Disaster Management Act has stated that a new body will be established called as the National Disaster Management Authority. And this National Disaster Management Authority will look into the management of disasters, and the chairperson of this National Disaster Management will be the Prime Minister. And this DMA, or the Disaster Management Act, has one provision called as Section 12. And Section 12 tells that when there is a disaster and if someone has been killed or when someone dies due to this disaster, the union government shall pay some compensation. So what we see from this section 12 of the Disaster Management Act is that if someone dies due to a disaster, the union government has to pay some amount. And now as the COVID-19 has been made as a disaster by the union government, that is, they have declared that the COVID-19 is a disaster. So people are entitled to get some form of compensation from the union government because there is an act that is supporting the compensation. But what we have witnessed is the union government last week told the Supreme Court that currently nearly 4 lakh people have died, and if we have to pay even 1 lakh or 2 lakh to the family members who have lost their family members, then that would be a huge amount, and as this will be a huge burden, we cannot pay this amount. But Supreme Court is of the view that as there is a law, you have to mandatorily pay some amount to those families who have lost their beloved ones. So this is the Supreme Court's request. To the National Disaster Management Authority. We would have to see what the National Disaster Management Authority will say. Next, we have an article where the Uttarakhand new Chief Minister Mr. Rawat has went to Delhi amid a legal bind. So we'll see what is the issue here. Mr. Tirath Singh Rawat, whom you can see in this image, has been made as a Chief Minister of a state called as Uttarakhand. He's made as a Chief Minister of Uttarakhand. But what you need to know is that Mr. Tirath Singh Rawat is not a MLA. He is not an MLA. So how can he become a Chief Minister? The answer is Indian Constitution allows a person to be becoming a Chief Minister or to be made as a minister. But once he is made as a Chief Minister or as a minister, he has to become an MLA within 6 months. Within 6 months. So even a common person who is of more than 25 years can be made as a Chief Minister or a minister, even if he is not an MLA, even if he is not an MP. But he has to become a member of the Legislative Assembly of that particular state within 6 months. But what we have been witnessing is the COVID second wave and the COVID infections not dying down. So the Election Commission has not yet started or conducted a by-election in the Uttarakhand. So Mr. Tirath Singh Rawat would have to leave his office in a few days if he could not become an MLA, because Indian Constitution is stating that if someone is not an MLA, he cannot be in his office for more than after 6 months. So he's going to Delhi to deal about this problem. Next, we have an article where it is stated that the editor of the world's only Sanskrit daily is no more. So we'll see what is the Sanskrit daily. There is a newspaper called as Sudharma. But what you need to understand is that it is very significant to Indians and the world, because this is the only newspaper in the entire world and even in India which is providing news in Sanskrit. So it is the only newspaper in Sanskrit language, and K.V. Sampath, whom you can see in this image, is the editor of this newspaper, and he died yesterday. And you should also know that Mr. K.V. Sampath along with his wife Miss K.S. Jayalakshmi were awarded Padma Shri awards in the year 2020 for their recognition and for their contribution to promote and to preserve the Sanskrit language. So passing away of Mr. K.V. Sampath is something we should all feel bad about. Next, we have an article dealing with the Kuvempu Award. We'll just see to whom this awards will be given. Kuvempu Awards would be given to poets and people who are associated with literature. You should note that Mr. Kuvempu, that is a pen name of a famous Kannada poet, has provided numerous poems in the Kannada literature. So there is a trust which is providing Kuvempu Award to people in the India if they are excelling and if they are contributing to the poetry and to literature in any language of India. So You should note that Kuvempu Awards are given to poets. And with this, we have come to the end of this session. Inform about ADOR's initiative to your other aspirant friends. You can visit our website to attempt mock test based on our daily current affairs. Thank you for watching.
Add-on solutions. Add-on desires.